Not in Texas, Chief. Not in the South. Not in the humidity.
Yeah.
Try humidity,
Chief.
bud.
You know, anyone that says that is a really good objection to bring because it's valid. The answer is from June to August in like a Houston, Texas market, you're not gonna run your whole house fan. It's too hot. It's too
Not
humid.
in the summer.
There's less than 5 days of each month of those months that you would actually use it looking at historic data. So when you look at June, July, and August, right? You're probably, if you live in that market, you're probably running your air conditioning 16, 18 hours a day, which is probably about just shy of 500 hours a month. And so you look at that and you're like, okay, in 3 months, I'm doing 1,500 hours of wear and tear on my most expensive appliance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you also got to look at what's the data trends in spring and fall and even winter. If you live in Houston, Texas, you're probably running your air conditioning 10, 11 months of the year. And so I went and looked last year and I looked at each month and I said, okay, let's look at when you can use a whole house fan because they break it down by each day, the high, the low of the day, by the time, the humidity, the precipitation, everything you can think of, right? And so I first went back to May and I said, how many days could you actually run a whole house fan in May? And so I looked and I was like, wow, you could actually run it 19 of the 30 days. And that's a month where, you know, where I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, you know, in order to run this product, it has to be under 73 degrees on the low in the evening time. And it can't be higher than, you know, 65% humidity because on ASHRAE standards, it's 30 to 65% is the acceptable rate for humidity indoors. 30 to 65 is like a proven, like there's no harmful effects to you, nothing.
For sure.
Right. So I took that data and I looked at it and I said, wow, 19 of the 30 days, you can cut out pretty much your AC usage in the state or in Houston, Texas.
So you're saying 19 of the 30 days
of the month, you can actually use
there
your
was
whole
humidity below
65
what number?
below 65 or below in the evening time with a temperature below 73 degrees.
which is prime.
And so it's
quiet, cool.
prime, quiet, cool weather. Now you go back and you look at the spring and fall. Pretty much in the spring and fall, you can cut out 15 to 20, or you can actually use a whole house fan 15 to 20 days of the month in spring and fall. And then when you get to the winter, I'm going to say from a conservative standpoint, when I was looking at it, 20 plus days pretty much, you know, for that other cycle. And so when you add up all the hours of AC usage, all of a sudden you just saved, you know, over 1,000 or 2,000 hours off your actual AC usage, you know. And when you look at that, imagine running, you know, 3,000 or 4,000 hours of your air conditioning a year in Houston, Texas on a $15,000, $20,000 appliance. Now, when you cut that down to only, you know, 2,000 hours of runtime, now your AC is not going to last 10 or 15 or even 20 years. It might last 20, 25, 30 years because you're using your whole house fan. And so that's just one argument to say why you would need a whole house fan in that market. Yeah, if you're looking through the lens of June through August, sure, I agree with you. But when you look at the big picture and what it's doing for your home, that's why I tell people it's not air conditioning. It's not a replacement for AC. It's the V and HVAC. It's the ventilation side that you need for your home and the benefits that you're going to get for that.
Why would I want to bring wet air through my house?
It won't feel that way because of the movement of air.
But say it's 80%. I don't care what it feels like. I see water on my walls.
Even at 80% humidity, we sell tons of product in the Chicago area, and one of our reps deals with humidity as one of his objections all the time, and that's where we learned that airflow is a huge mitigation as it relates to the feeling of humidity or humidity in the living space. I think airflow movement at the rate that we're bringing it in, which is 15 to 20 complete air exchanges in an hour, you're not allowing for the humidity buildup inside the home.
I did a study on people in those type of climate zones that are high humidity, like what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we had an overwhelming majority of people say the humidity running in the evening time was a non-factor. I think it was in the low 90s or even high, like 89, 92%, somewhere in that range. And so to me, that's a big tell in the story to say, hey, the people that actually have it in those markets that are using it are not saying what we're coming against when people have that
Because
objection.
obviously, like, we met those people in Florida at IBS, and they were like, "We'll take a whole house fan over AC any day." They were like super hardcore about
because
it.
they had the product in their home, they used it, they understand it, and then they don't have that same objection. But that's what we're here today to explain. Hey, that's not the case, and these are the reasons why, and that there's so many more benefits to whole house fans than just cooling.
And just so people know, whole house fans, previously known as attic fans, were actually invented in the South, and it's pretty humid almost everywhere in the South. Have we ever had any sort of like anybody say to us, "Hey, you ruined my entire attic because of your fan"?
Not one person.
Like, we've never had any sort of lawsuit like, "You brought mold into my house because of your fan."
We've installed probably somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million customers over the past 10 years. And so you're talking about that many homes, that many products in there, and you haven't had one person actually reach out and make that complaint to us, I think speaks very loud to being a non-issue.
Yeah. Because the one thing when I was reading about it and doing research on it is that, like you said, moving air, if you live in a humid spot, actually the best thing you can do, especially for your attic space specifically, is introduce moving air. Because if you have any sort of venting, humidity is already in your attic anyway.
Well, think about it. If you take the top people of the industry that make the codes and laws for all the buildings, right, that for residential homes, of how they're supposed to be built, why would they be giving whole house fans such big credit in incentivizing builders and people to put them in if they didn't work in those kind of climates when they're given that kind of credit? You got to ask yourself that.
Yeah.
And the answer is because they understand what we understand, what we're talking about today, that it's a no-brainer and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well put.